91.3 WVKR, independent radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. You are tuned into LocalMotion. We're live every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. If this is your first time tuning into LocalMotion, this show is all about music of the Hudson Valley. Musicians that live here, those coming to perform in our area venues, as well as those coming to record in our world-class area recording studios. Show number 246 for me on these wonderful airwaves, broadcasting live from Vassar College campus. Thanks everybody for tuning in, whether it's on the dial at 91.3 WVKR.org or TuneIn Radio. However it is you're here, it's much appreciated. So today we have two guests on the show, one for each hour. Might as well live it up, right? So first up will be the new owner of the Bearsville complex over in Woodstock. Lizzie Vann will be calling in momentarily. So we'll be talking about her, about all the massive renovations and the plans that she has looking forward to Bearsville. We also, during the 5 o'clock hour, Jay and Molly, who were recent guests, Jay Unger, Molly Mations, they'll be coming back because they've got quite a few exciting events happening online from the Ashokan Center in Olive Bridge. So we'll talk to them at the 4 o'clock hour, and Lizzie Vann coming up momentarily. In the meantime, let's start out with some music. And Cindy Cashdollar is who we're going to start out with today, who has a dedicated photo and beautiful drawing of her at Bearsville. So I thought we'd start off today with Cindy Cashdollar. Let's take a listen to her while we're waiting for Lizzie, and then we'll talk with Lizzie for quite some time. All right. Thanks for tuning in. WVKR.
Ring them bells, yeah, hear them from the city that dreams. Ring them bells from the sanctuaries across the valleys and streams. Deep and the wide, and the world's on its side. Time is running backwards, and so is the bride. Ring them bells, sweet Martha, the poor man's son. Ring them bells so the world will know that God is one. The shepherds asleep where the willows weep, and the mountains are filled with lost sheep. Ring them bells for the blind and the deaf. Ring them bells for those of us who are left. Ring them bells for the chosen few who will judge the many when the game is through. Ring them bells for the time that flies, for the child who cries, innocence dies. The top of the room. Ring them bells from the fortress for the lilies that bloom. The lines are long, fighting is strong, and we are breaking down the distance between a right and a wrong. We are breaking down the distance between a right and wrong.
91.3 WVKR, independent radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Bruce Katz, title track off his release, Homecoming, brucekatzband.com. Check them out. Also, Cindy Cash Dollar getting us started today. The Ring Them Bells featuring Amy Helm off of Cindy's latest release, Waltz for Abilene. I now have Ms. Lizzie Vann on the phone with us. Lizzie, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Oh, well, good afternoon. Thanks so much for being here today. We look forward to hearing all the wonderful things that you've got going on at Bearsville Center.
That would be great.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I had the fortune of meeting you, I think last month it was, when I was there for some outdoor music, and you took me on a tour, and I'm guessing I'm one of the many that have seen the inside that have just been speechless at the end of the tour and by all the gorgeous renovations, because many of us have been going there for decades and never expected to see anything quite like what you've got there now. So it was really, truly remarkable and beautifully done and tastefully done, and with so much love.
Good.
With so much love. You've got lots of love. You're a definite passionate about the music, and that comes through. Lizzie, if we may start just a little, I always like to back up a little in my interviews. Tell us a little bit about you and what got you to Bearsville. You're from the UK. Just give us a little history, if you would, please.
Sure. Well, I'm British, as you can probably tell, and I've always loved America. And when I was 14 years old, I went into the public library in my little town in the middle of England, and I borrowed the Pearl album by Janis Joplin, which was the album that came out just after she passed away. And I was just completely blown away. At 14 years old, I had a very limited experience of life and limited horizons, I guess. People from my family didn't generally go out and do anything very exciting. And I listened to this album and I thought, wow, I like what she's doing. I want some of that. Uh-huh. And really, she's been a mentor for me for a lot of my life, not just because, a superb singer, but also she took no prisoners. She was totally honest with her life. She didn't compromise. And she worked her ass off. She was a perfectionist. She did her 10,000 hours at becoming good at what she chose to do. And I thought that was a great inspiration. So that's where I kind of started at the age of 14, went through all kinds of things, became a biologist and an analyst, and then at the age of 32, I set up an organic food company making food for babies. Mm-hmm. We call them weaning foods in the UK. I've always really cared about the environment, and a bit like Bearsville, really. It was much more than just a single thing. We made great baby food. We made it with real apples, real blueberries, real spinach. You could see the color of the food. You could see what was in it by looking at the color. But much more than that, we made it into a kind of very large-scale campaign to get pesticides out of food, to get food additives out of children's food, things like colorings and flavorings. And then we worked with Jamie Oliver, who's a British celebrity chef, on the school dinners, trying to improve, trying to revolutionize school dinners. So that was a great fun time for about 16 years.
Yeah.
At the end of 16 years, I was pretty exhausted and wanted to pass it on. So I sold it to a company called Hero, and they've continued with it, with the campaigning, with the quality of food, with the same people for the last 10 years.
Beautiful. That's a German company. I know them.
Yes, it is. And it's a family company. They're a great bunch of people, really care about food quality. And I think what we did with organics has inspired them to do the same thing, not just improve the quality of the food, but think about it from an environmental point of view and from being on the side of the people that eat the food, not being the food industry, which I think is such a horrible concept,
yes,
but being on the side of the people that eat the food and what do they want from food? Taste, obviously, quality, obviously, not overpriced, but also they don't want to contribute to a world that has pesticides or that has factory farming, that has really bad animal welfare problems. Mm-hmm. So it was good. It was a good time in my life, those 20 years or so.
Yeah, yeah. And then you came to the U.S. You probably came to the U.S. before then, right? Before you...
Yeah, I love America. I just love it. It's funny now when I go back.
Even now, Lizzie?
England is so small. Well, I haven't been back this year, but, I go back and England seems very small. It seems like one state of America. Mm-hmm. But huge variety and fantastic history. I mean, I used to live somewhere that was called the New Forest, but it was called the New Forest in the year 1042, I think it was. Yeah. And it's still called New now. So, it's totally different time scale to America.
It really does. I notice that every time I go, and I love that Europe is essentially so compact. And you do go from country to country, and here it feels like you go to state, but everything's different. Yes. Everything is different. Yes. And that's the beauty of Europe. Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us about...
I came out here...
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, tell us about coming to America.
I came out here after I'd sold my company and just needed a rest, really, and then bought a house in Florida, but couldn't really sit still. It was funny when you're kind of, addicted to working, I guess you could say. It was hard to sit still. So I looked around me in Florida and I thought, wow, 360 days of sunshine every year and very little solar power. So I started off a project to create a green village, which would be totally net zero energy.
Amazing.
And would work to really high quality standards, because that's what I'd learned to do at Organics was, if you set a very high benchmark, other people will follow you.
Yes.
And it will really stand out. So we created the Green Village, historic Green Village, out of some buildings that were over 100 years old, which in Florida is historic. And it was powered... It's still there. I still own it. It's powered by the sun. It uses ground source heat pumps to exchange the cool of the ground with the hotter air, with the higher temperature, in the air, and that drives all the air conditioning, which is one of the biggest users of electricity
in Florida.
When you live in Florida. Mm-hmm. We collect all the rainwater. We've got photovoltaic power. We also use solar hot water, which is wonderful. If anybody wants to invest in trying to go green at their home, solar hot water is the way to go, because the system that you put in, which doesn't cost that much, pays for itself within 2 years.
Wow. And
then all of your hot water after that is free. Mm-hmm. So I know it's 2 years in Florida. It might be 3 years up here, but it's a very good system. And, reduces your electricity bills, reduces your impact on the environment, and you get all that lovely hot water for nothing.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Yeah, that's right.
And then you miraculously ended up here in the beautiful Hudson Valley. Tell us what brought you here to our area.
It is a really special area. I came here not knowing quite how special it was. I came here with my partner, David McGow, who's a photographer, and he said, you've got to go to Woodstock, Lizzie. You love music, he loves music. Let's go to Woodstock. So we came here for a vacation, I think about 8 years ago now. And, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. The hills, the mountains, the water. It reminds me of the north of England. I don't know if you've ever been to the Lake District.
No, I have
which
not.
Is the northwest coast. Just like this. It looks just like this. And it's a beautiful, beautiful part of England. And it's full of the kind of cultural history that you have here, too. So people like William Morris and John Ruskin from the arts and crafts movement were living and working in the Lake District. And, of course, here in Woodstock, we've got Birdcliff, we've got the Maverick, we've got all that kind of wonderful history that is kind of, quite revolutionary, certainly rebellious in its own way at the time. And then, now Woodstock is still out on not on a limb, but, it still has its own individual way of being, which I love.
Yes.
It's my place. This is where my family is.
So
my tribe.
It's true, right? You came here, you fell in love with the area, and then this beautiful thing happened, not just to you, but you, in fact, have now allowed it to happen to all of us here in the Hudson Valley. Tell us about your history with Bearsville when you first found out about it, and how you purchased it and why you wanted to purchase it.
Well, it's a historic property. When David and I bought a house here, I think 7 years ago, we would come down to Bearsville, and there was a place, the Bluestone Patio. It was called the Commune Saloon with a fire pit, and there would be singers singing at the weekends in the evening, and there was the Bear Cafe, and it was just a great place to hang out. Gradually, over time, it became clear that it was having problems. Bills were not being paid, and places like the theatre was not putting on so many concerts, and there were a few issues. You could tell that the place was getting a little run down. And then the lights went off. What would that be? 2.5 years ago now, the lights went off, and suddenly it was very clear that the previous owners had not been paying the bills, or maybe unable to pay the bills. And it was very sad, and I remember talking about it to friends and saying, "Oh, that's sad. I hope somebody buys it."
Yeah, that's what we were all saying.
And makes it everything it can be, because it has so much history. It was going to be the jewel in Albert Grossman's crown, even though he didn't live to see it finished. His idea was that it would be his big showcase. So, his vision for Bearsville was always create a utopia for his artists to live here, eat here, create music here, rehearse it, record it, get out on the road. And he's beautiful restaurants. He had cottages up on Strebel Road and the recording studios on Rick's Road in Woodstock. But then the theatre was going to be where it all came together. I'm actually sitting in the Utopia building now that Albert created for Todd Rundgren to have video recording way back in the 80s.
The Utopia soundstage.
Yes, that's right. It's a wonderful place. Oh my God, I love it. The more time I spend here, the more I love it. Actually, it's interesting because it's like a little jewel box that you open up, and there's all these other little things that you keep discovering. Yeah. So this week, Radio Woodstock moved to another location, and I got the Utopia building back, and I've spent a lot of time wandering around looking at it and finding all sorts of interesting pieces of equipment and facilities that there are here. But anyway, I digress. So when was it? It was a year and 3 months ago. Bearsville was up for sale, and there were all sorts of rumors going around about who was going to buy it. We heard that a hedge fund manager was going to buy it and knock it down and make a hotel here. Oh. We heard that somebody else was going to create a hotel within the Utopia building, or pull down, just basically change the nature of it totally. And me and David and a few other people, we were, concerned about it, I would say. I had taken a year off from working because my mom had sadly passed away, and there'd been all sorts of things going on. And I'd taken a year off, and I thought, right, now's my chance. I'm going to relax and read all those books, books that you put in a pile somewhere, and you say, one day I'm going to have time to read them. And
those books honestly, are still in that pile, aren't they?
They're still in that pile because people said to me, Lizzie, you've done property development. You should do this. It's a great project for you. And I kept saying, no, I don't want to. I'm retired. I'm having an easy life at last. And I talked to a few people about it, thinking, well, maybe I should be the financial backer for it rather than do the work myself. Mm-hmm. But it never seemed to make a lot of sense what other people wanted to do. Everybody always relied upon this idea that, you could create a big hotel, and it just wasn't right. That is not right for this place. Right. Either that or a housing estate. That's not right for it either. This is a very special place.
Yes,
it needs to be treated with respect. Yeah. So one day I drove past here on my way into town, and I looked at it, and it was raining, and it was something like August the 20th, and I thought, sod it, I'm going to buy it. So I rang my friend Laurie, and I said, Laurie, I think I've changed my mind about Bearsville. And she said, well, you've got 8 days, Lizzie, because it's going up for auction. So you need to, get your act together. So we did, it's a lot of energy went into that period of time. And that was 13 and a half months ago.
Wow. Well, wow. And what happened when you first walked onto the property as its new owner? Like, what did you do first? Did you go into one specific building? What did you do?
It was raining. It was a Friday. It was the Friday before Labor Day, at the end of August or beginning of September, a year and a bit ago, and it was raining, pouring down with rain. And of course, Monday is a vacation day, so that's 3 days where nothing could happen. And I walked in, and there was water pouring through the roof, and there was mold in the basement. You know, I hadn't had the time to have all the inspections. And there was also, at the closing, the attorney had said to me, "You do know that there's 8 gallons of water a minute going through the water meter, don't you?"
Oh, my
I said, "I don't know that. No. What do I do?" And they said, "Well, you need to find out where the leak is." So we rang the town at 3:00 that Friday before Labor Day weekend. And they said, "We have no idea, but there's certainly somewhere there's a lot of water running through pipes." And, you know, we kind of panicked a bit over the weekend, but that was a baptism, if you like, the baptism of fire to the property.
And then you established, I mean, the picture I had posted that you had sent of this massive group of people that helped you with this renovation.
Yes, wonderful people. And a lot of them are still here now, actually. I have a great bunch of contractors who are just, they've been here virtually every day for 13 months. They started off, the first job they did was to put a new roof onto the theatre immediately, within a week. And they've been repairing roofs and also digging out basements and putting membranes along the walls. You know, 80% of the work that we've done has been unseen, will be unseen. You know, it's guttering and basements and trenches and drains and just lots and lots of repairs. And I'm not blaming the previous owner. I'm just saying that this place had fallen quite badly into disrepair, and it needed a huge amount of work doing. I think there were times in the last 13 months where I just thought, I think I've bitten off more than I can chew, which is a British phrase. I don't know if you have that over here, but it's like, oh, this might be a little bit too much for me.
No, we've heard it here too. But then all of a sudden, there was a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yes. So we worked first on the theatre because I wanted to make that the centre of the community. You know, I mean, Bearsville has always been very beloved by the community in the Hudson Valley and particularly in Woodstock. So it was obvious that that should be the first building that would get renovated and bring people back here. So we spent a lot of time on mold remediation and new electrics and everything else. And then finally the decoration, which I did with some more of those people in that photograph, Lindsay Tipler and Gwen Siegel, and we came up with a mid-century modern design, which is beautiful. It has lovely peacock teal-coloured drapes, and we've kind of made it a cross between a mid-century modern building and an old British music hall.
Yes. Yeah.
Excuse me. So it's got a lot of gold and fancy bits, as well as this very beautiful acoustic ceiling with all the wood that entails.
Yeah. And the theater itself, I'm looking at pictures of it now that I took when you gave us the tour. The artwork is spectacular. Tell us about who you commissioned for that.
Yes, well, that's a wonderful guy. I met him because he's a drummer, and David has a band, and he was the drummer of the band. And his name is Mike Dubois. He's a wonderful graphic artist. So we came up with the idea that to celebrate all the people that had played, not just music at Bearsville, but music in Woodstock, we would create 24 doors. And he would do that. He would create a work of art that would go onto each door. So we have, who you might expect. So Albert Grossman's artists, such as Bob Dylan and Janis Joplin. But also we have artists like Jimi Hendrix, who rehearsed at Tinker Street Cinema before he went to play at Woodstock in 1969. We have every member of the band, of course. How could we not?
Yes.
We have some amazing jazz musicians that have either been here or maybe still live here but don't no longer play here. But we also have Jack DeJohnette, Pat Messini.
Yes.
We have the whole Roots music crowd, Happy and Artie Traum and Larry Campbell, John Sebastian, Jorma Kaukonen, Maria Muldaur. We have doors and portraits all over the place. It's almost like a mini museum, really, I guess.
It is.
The musical history of the Hudson Valley.
Mm-hmm. When I left there, that's what I felt like it was like. Like I just passed through a museum. And I can't wait for the doors to open. I can only imagine that you can't wait for the doors to open to this beautiful theater. But I know you're doing some live streams from there now, yes?
We are. At Easter, we planned, I have a very small team here, Robert Fraser, who does the sound, and Kim Lockrow, who basically organizes everything, and Tom Mignoni. That's all we are. We planned on opening at Easter. And, of course, within 10 days before Easter, that's when the coronavirus, it became very apparent that we weren't going to be opening. In fact, we were going to be battening down the hatches. So it's been a long 7 months or so. We did bring in live stream equipment about a month ago, and we have been doing some pre-records so that we can talk to people about what that equipment can do. It's a wonderful... The auditorium was designed by John Storick, the architect who designed Electric Lady Studios in New York City. So it has a fantastic sound. We have a roof that was the roof of an old Dutch barn, and it acts like a timpani drum. It's vibrating, so you get a wonderful sound in the space. And we have these... the best sound quality always comes from a room that doesn't have too many right angles. So one thing that John Storick did was he put wings along the sides of the walls so that the sound would not hit into corners and come back at itself. So it's a great sounding room, and in there we've put a wonderful Danley sound system, which is a very intelligent sound system. It knows where people are, and it knows where the back walls are and the side walls. So it doesn't just blast sound out, it's actually using almost like a radar system to place the sound so that it's good in all the different parts of the room, which is great for a smaller auditorium like this.
Yes.
And we then brought in a live stream system, so 6 cameras, including movable cameras, but also static cameras that can go in and out and swivel. And that means that we can do television quality recording of artists on the stage, where we're doing close-ups and distance shots at the same time. So it's a professional setup, and we are learning how to use it. It's a wonderful system. We've done quite a few live streams already. We did the Bobby Lees, we did the American Nomads, we did the Mammals. We recently did a local musician, Ted Orr's funeral memorial. His memorial. And we did the Jazz in the Hudson Valley live stream as well. So it's a great system. We think that we have the equivalence of a recording studios now at the theatre. Perfect for launching albums or rehearsing a tour or just recording. Right. Just recording a live album there. So we're very excited about that because obviously we want it to be open so that the public can come in again. But we have to do something while we're waiting for that to happen. Exactly. So it's being proactive, which is exactly what you're doing. Tell us about the restaurants on the property. Well, the Little Bear has stuck with us through thick and thin. They were here the day I arrived, and they're still here now. They've been open all that time, apart from a couple of weeks in the middle where we renovated their building and sorted out the basement and the roof and the air conditioning and everything. And then next door to that was the Bear Cafe, a very well-known cafe where all of Albert Grossman's artists would have eaten at some point when they were recording in the studios or spending time here. That's been sadly closed for 2 years now, I think. And again, like the theatre, it had terrible frost damage from being closed over a winter and all the pipes bursting. And we've ended up having to put a new floor, virtually a new floor, into it. there was a lot of rot that we hadn't expected. And I hope that will open in November.
Oh, lovely.
It's got a new tenant. It's going to be wonderful food. It's kind of focused on families, because to me, Bearsville should be all about bringing families up here and enjoying music, enjoying food, enjoying the beautiful parkland that we have here.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. I love to hear that. And what about the Peterson house?
Yes, and then the Peterson house, I believe that Catherine Sparta is opening Nancy's Ice Cream early next week.
Lovely.
We've all been running around like like what's trying to get it ready. And I think maybe she may be open this weekend, but I know, sort of most certainly at some point next week. And Nancy's Ice Cream is, I don't know, just gorgeous. I mean, she uses fresh ingredients and banana caramel ice cream and sour cream and cherry. Oh, just wonderful. I could do her whole advert here.
Oh, excellent. Oh, that sounds so wonderful. Bearsville Theater also has a YouTube channel, which I always suggest people subscribe to, and as well as your Facebook page and social media, just to keep up with what you've got going on. BearsvilleTheater.com. And they can see some of the beautiful renovations that you've done too. Yes,
that's right. We have BearsvilleCenter.com. Yes, definitely sign up for the Facebook page, and we'll keep you abreast of it. And if you go onto BearsvilleTheater.com, we have a mailing list that you could subscribe to, and we can tell you what's happening.
Yes.
It's Robert Fraser has a whole vault of hundreds of concerts that he recorded, because he's been here since 1989 when it first opened. Sort of coming and going a bit in the middle, but he's been here and he's been making recordings all that time. So we have some wonderful archive footage that we put out onto YouTube and on Facebook.
Oh, wonderful. I hope that when you open to the public for concerts, that you can stand in the door and just watch people's reactions when they first walk in to the theater, because I think it's going to be overwhelming for so many people when they realize how much love you actually put into it. And never mind going down to the restrooms, which are just exquisite. And I don't say that about restrooms very often. We all remember the ladies' room in the Bearsville Theater before you took over.
It's a little different now.
Oh my! The doors wouldn't
have
close.
That strange smell anymore.
No, it is just all beautiful what you've done, Lizzie, and thank you for putting so much love into such a historic place, property.
Well, it deserves it, I mean, you have to do something with your life, don't you? And this seems to me to be, I think as you get older, then, your community becomes more close to home. Mm-hmm. I remember being a teenager and wanting to change the world, and now I actually just want to change the local area and make it as good as it can be. So for me, being able to make Bearsville a great place for people to come to again, and maybe enhance it and take it to what Albert really wanted it to be, a place, a crucible where young musicians could get a start on their careers and have a showcase and get out there. That, to me, is what I hope we can produce here. I mean, using the sound studios and the Utopia building as well as the theatre. Right. I have great plans for doing educationals and workshops and residences.
It's a very exciting time. A very exciting time. Now, Albert Grossman's widow, is she still in the area? Or
yes.
Yeah.
She lives next door.
Oh.
She does, and Albert is still here. Albert's grave is just 500 yards from where I'm sitting. And, we visit him and get inspiration from him. So, yes.
Wow.
Still here.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to come to the theater, as I know hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people are. We're all looking forward to the day to go back to seeing live music live in person, but to see your beautiful complex and maybe eat at your beautiful restaurants that you have there.
Well, that would be great. I'd love that, So get people to sign up on the mailing list.
Yes.
And we'll just keep sending out information because, this coronavirus can't go on forever.
No.
And there will be a time when the doors will be open.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
There's still things that we're doing now. People can come to restaurants now and they can listen to what we're doing now. So don't let it get us down. We can still be doing things together.
We most definitely can. I had American Nomads on my show, and they were talking about the live stream that they were doing at Bearsville. And you know what? That's exciting stuff, because I know people miss being able to go out, and there's nothing better than being able to see it now in the only way that we can. So, we can still support live music. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lizzie. I so appreciate your time and being here. Once we're able to open up your doors and you're able to open up, let's have you back on and talk about some of the music that'll be coming your way.
That will be wonderful. Thank you so much, Rita.
You're welcome.